Hello and welcome, everyone. Today we're cracking open the rulebook on one of the weirdest, most wonderful, and honestly, criminally overlooked role-playing games of all time, Gamma World. So, buckle up. Let's dive right into this post-apocalyptic fever dream.
I mean, just look at this cover art. It tells you pretty much everything you need to know, right? This is not your typical fantasy setting. The game itself describes its world as a, quote, savage land of radioactive wasteland populated by weird and often powerful mutants. Yeah, forget elves and dwarves. We're talking about something way, way stranger.
So the premise is just simple and brilliant. It's the 25th century. Hundreds of years after a series of conflicts they called the Social Wars just brought humanity to its knees. With everything, nukes, chemical agents, biogenetic warfare, the works. The world's a radioactive mess, and the few pockets of civilization left are just trying to get by. But here's the best part. Players explore the ruins of the ancients, this mysterious, super advanced civilization. And who are the ancients? Well, they're us. You're basically an archaeologist of the 20th century.
So how do you even begin to survive in a world like this? Well, it all starts with your character. And right from the jump, the choices you get are anything but ordinary.
You've got three fundamental options. You could be a pure strain human, a direct descendant of pre-war humanity. Now, you're generally smarter, you're better at figuring out all that ancient tech, but you're also pretty fragile. Or you could be a mutated humanoid, the most common type of being in Gamma World, physically and mentally twisted by the apocalypse. And finally, you can play as a mutated animal, an intelligent, evolved creature who might be anything from a bipedal badger to, I don't know, a telekinetic house cat.
And this brings us to the most important part. The mutations. This is the absolute core of the game. Whether you're a humanoid or an animal, your character is defined by these random, totally unpredictable changes from living in this radiation-soaked world. This is not about carefully picking your powers from a list. No, this is about rolling the dice and seeing what bizarre gifts, or maybe curses, the wasteland has decided to give you.
And the possibilities are just wild. You might be able to shoot electricity from your hands. Or maybe you have a second, fully functioning brain. You could have skin that gets energy from sunlight, actual wings, or natural chameleon powers. But it's not all good news. You could just as easily roll a mutation like poison susceptibility, making you super vulnerable. It's just this beautiful, creative chaos. And this image right here perfectly illustrates what it all looks like when it comes together. You're not just some hero with a sword. You're a survivor with a laser gun you barely understand, riding a mutated beast you've somehow tamed, heading out into the ruins of a world you don't recognize. This image it captures that pulpy sci-fi fantasy vibe perfectly. All right, so let's shift gears from who you are to the world itself. What are you going to find out there? Because let me tell you, it's not just the players who are mutated, everything is.
The Monster Manual is basically a post-apocalyptic safari of the bizarre. Take the Badlers. They're not just giant badgers. No, they're smart enough to form raiding parties and use the same tech you're looking for. Or maybe you stumble upon a Brutors, this two-headed horse that's not just a ride, but a seriously tough opponent on its own.
And believe me, it just gets weirder. You have the Hoops, these mutated rabbits obsessed with hoarding shiny artifacts. An entire adventure could just be about getting your watch back from them. Then there are creatures like the Yexel, this bizarre lion-headed chimera that just shows you how unpredictable and alien the wasteland has become. Every single encounter is a trip into the unknown. But it's not all just mindless monsters out there. Complex societies have popped up, each with its own agenda. You've got factions like the Archivists, who literally worship technology, or the Brotherhood of Thought, who are trying to build a peaceful society for everyone. And then you have the more sinister groups, like the Knights of Genetic Purity, who want to wipe out anyone they consider a mutant. These groups add this whole other layer of social and political drama to your adventures.
So what's the goal? A lot of the time, it's scavenging the ruins of the ancients for artifacts. You might find something incredible, like power armor or a laser pistol, but you're just as likely to find, say, a toaster, a traffic light, or a credit card, and have absolutely no idea what it is. A huge part of the fun is your character trying to figure out the purpose of these totally baffling relics from our everyday lives.
Okay, so we have the characters, and we have the world, but how does it all actually play? What does it feel like to sit down at the table? Well, the game's core philosophy is printed right there in the rulebook, and for me, it's a total game changer. It explicitly says, there are no winners or losers in a Gamma World game. The object of the game is just to have fun. It's a game built from the ground up for exploration and collaborative storytelling, not for competition. So the gameplay loop itself is beautifully straightforward. You and your friends, you explore the unknown, you encounter weird things. You use your unique mutations and whatever gear you've managed to scavenge to get through it, and in the process, you build a shared story that nobody could have planned. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's all about creativity. So, why are we talking about a game from 1983 today? What is its lasting impact? And why should you even care about this weird little box of radioactive chaos? Gamma World was never a game about perfectly balanced rules. It was a creative sandbox that put fun way ahead of everything else. In a time that was often focused on tactical dungeon crawls, this spirit of pure gonzo imagination was kind of revolutionary. It gave you this bizarre setting, a system for creating totally unpredictable characters, and then it just said, go make it weird. You can totally see its DNA in a lot of today's indie games that focus on storytelling. And that really is the ultimate appeal. It hands you a blank, irradiated slate and asks a simple question. When everything that was is gone, what comes next? What myths will you make? In a world wiped clean, what new story would you create?